really, we're having this conversation right now. Complete stranger telling me that I was a bad mom. Why are you becoming so personally offended that my autistic child is stimming? And she got kicked out of the store because her child was too loud. When other people just don't get it, they just don't understand how amazing your child is. She reassured me that it was actually all my fault. When my autistic son, Ezra, was only 17 months old, I took him to a city pool. There were a ton of people there, and we were waiting and watching my 3 older kids take swimming lessons. And when we get there, I would have to be right next to him all the time. He was a rambunctious little 17-month-old. I mean, most little kids are. He didn't know how to walk yet, and he would scoot around. He'd try and get in the pool. He'd try to throw other people's keys and shoes in the pool, and I was just chasing him around the pool most of the time. And I remember one time I finally got to sit down, and I set him right there, and I was just looking around, and I just felt like everyone was staring at me, and everyone was just wanting to know, like, what is wrong with her child? Like, why can't she get a hold of her child? And there were so many eyes on me that I felt that like everyone was just judging me. And they had no clue about my life. They didn't know me. They didn't know my son. I sat down and I noticed that a lady that I was sitting next to had a son that was close to Ezra's age. And so I struck up a conversation, and I asked her how old her little boy was. And I mentioned that Ezra was 17 months old, and the first thing she said was, well, why isn't he walking yet? And I was like, oh no, why did I start talking to you? And I reassured her, don't worry, we're trying everything we can and helping him. He's a little delayed, but I have confidence that he'll learn how to walk. He's already pulling himself up. And she actually got up and brought Ezra up and held his little hands. Was like, look, he's walking. You just need to practice like this with him every day. And I remember just thinking, as a matter of fact, I do. As a matter of fact, we even have a physical therapist that comes and sees him once a week, and an occupational therapist, for your information. Really, we're having this conversation right now. Complete stranger telling me that I was a bad mom. I also told her, don't worry, we are even getting him tested for autism. We think that he might be autistic, but we're on the waiting list. And after I said that, oh, he's not autistic, she said. She reassured me that it was actually all my fault. And she told me, oh, just cancel that appointment. You don't need to get him tested. He's not autistic. Look, I can tell. Look, he looked at me. She went on and on and on about all the things that I needed to be doing differently as a mom. And I wasn't giving him enough attention. I wasn't taking him to friends' houses and being social. The whole time, I just couldn't even talk because she had no idea how much I had been doing. She had no idea how much I was struggling inside because I was going back and forth of, is he really autistic? Is he not? She was this complete stranger who was telling me that I was a bad mom. I just felt powerless. I didn't know what to say. I tried to be patient and kind, but as soon as my 3 older kids were done with their swimming lessons, we were out of there. She had no idea how much effort I was putting in to helping Ezra. She had no idea how many times I cried in my closet at night because I didn't have answers, and I didn't know why he wasn't looking at anyone. I didn't know why he wasn't being social and wasn't learning things. And when I got that answer that he was autistic, it did help so much because I realized I don't have to feel guilty about anything. I don't have to beat myself up and say that I'm a bad mom for any reason. I can just focus on helping Ezra gain more autonomy and freedom and ability to choose in his life. And in public, sometimes Ezra is overstimulated with all of the noise and all the visual things that are happening. It's just hard for him to handle. What it boils down to is just there are way too many stupid and unnecessary cultural expectations that we put on ourselves. When Ezra is in a public space, I think one of the hardest things for me is that every time they see him, They see how he's different. They don't see what I see. So when someone says that he's really loud, then all they say is, oh, bad parenting. That's what they say. They say, oh, you're a bad mom. And they treat him differently. Why are you becoming so personally offended that my autistic child is stimming? It's difficult because they don't see that he's autistic. They just see some bad behavior. And this cultural expectation that is like suffocating is put on them, and it's not fair. I mean, should a child really be quiet all the time? Even at a water park? We were at the water park. It was a couple years ago, and I remember I wanted Ezra to be able to go down the slides. Ezra was jumping up and down and pointing at the slides, but he was too small to go down the big ones, and the smaller ones, I wasn't allowed to go down with him. So we got one slide running because she said if I went down another slide, I'd get kicked out of the park. And the sad thing about this is that I complained about it, I told them the situation, and they didn't care. They just said, this is the rule and there's no exceptions. And I get it, we need to have rules, but there's also a time to listen to someone with needs that are maybe different than your average kid. And adults on this subject are really difficult, but kids, usually when they see Ezra and they kind of wonder why he's jumping up and down, flapping his hands and yelling, but he's happy, I'll just explain to him, hey, he's autistic. I'll explain a little bit about what autism can be and how Ezra just is so similar to them, even though he might have a few differences. And when I do that, I feel like kids catch on so quick, a lot quicker than adults. One time we were at a birthday party, and honestly, I was so excited that Ezra got invited to a friend birthday party because a lot of times people forget to invite Ezra. And so I really wanted him to go. I went with him, I was there with him the whole time. Ezra was so excited, and he was really excited about all of the candy wrappers because there were these prizes that kids were winning and games they were playing. And the people that were super nice and kind of adapting the game so that Ezra could play and enjoy them too. And then there was this little girl, oh my gosh, she was sitting down, she had all of her candy like on the floor in front of her. And Ezra just came and like took one of her candies, and understandably she was really mad at Ezra, but I told her, you know, I'm really sorry. He actually doesn't even want the candy inside. He just wants to play with that shiny wrapper. So I'm really sorry that he stole your candy, but here, you know, we're giving it back to you, and he didn't break it or anything. And a minute later she came back and she handed him the wrapper. And I remember thinking to myself, why can't more people be like that? Like, it was so sweet. Ezra was just jumping up and down and just flapping his hands and squealing because he got this shiny wrapper. I feel like kids just are so much more accepting than adults are. Adults have this, you know, preconceived notion of what these behavior and expectations should be on these kids, but it's usually culturally driven. I wonder what kids are just suffocating because of this. Why can't we be more open, especially when you see a child and they might be a little different? Why is it that we have to assume that something's wrong, or that something needs to be fixed, or that he needs to go home? I've been told that, like, why are you bringing that child here? And maybe he shouldn't be here. We have a family goal to visit all the national parks together as a family. And what that means is that Ezra's gonna be there. And he loves hiking national parks. He loves nature. He just laughs and laughs. Like when we're on a trail and on a trip and we're walking, he will a lot of times like go to the front. He wants to be in front of us. And then he'll look back and go all the way to the back and make sure that the whole family's there and just kind of push whoever's the last person, which is usually me. And he'll just kind of push me like, make sure, come on, if we're not going fast enough. And he loves enjoying that. And really to make that a safe experience for him, we put him on a toddler leash. Yes, we do. We do that every time because we want him to have fun and be able to run around and also to be safe. And so when we're at the Grand Canyon, it's really wise of us to put Ezra on a toddler leash. But a lot of other parents who don't understand about Ezra's autism will just look at us and they'll just judge us. And ironically, we're trying to be good parents by including Ezra, and that leash gives us that ability for him to run around and have more freedom and enjoy the national park with us and also be safe. And yet when people look at that leash, they think, oh, we're such bad parents, when in reality, we're trying to be good parents, and that's why that leash is there. When I think about all those moms out there that are just trying their best, I think about, what if instead of judgment, what if we gave comfort? What if we asked, is there anything I can do to help? Instead of pre-judgment, especially shame and blame on mothers. When mothers sacrifice so much and give so much to nurture and raise their children. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever been in a situation where you were completely judged and told that you were a bad mom? We're not bad moms. And the world may look on us and judge us every day, but we know that we're freaking amazing. And so I just want you to know that even if no one else tells you, you're a good mom. I want you to remember that, because we're all in it together. And if you have an autistic child, you're in good company. And I'd love for you to meet Ezra and see him on our hikes and our travel vlog. So the video on the left is an autism playlist where you can meet Ezra and the rest of the gang. And the video on the right is what not to say to an autism mom.